Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening to some of you, depending on where you are dialing into our coaching cafe, either live or on your favorite streaming service. Welcome to the Coaching Cafe. My name is Dr. Natalie Ashdown, and I am thrilled to be joined on the line today. Welcome back to you, Paula Jones Hunt. We haven't seen you for a while, so it's lovely to welcome you back to the Coaching Cafe.
Thank you, and I'm super excited to be here.
Getting the band back together, it feels like. We are discussing, is this the end of the mid-year performance review? Let's get into our conversation. And before we do that, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we all meet today, either live or you might be listening to this on your favorite streaming service. And the traditional owners and the custodians and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, and communities of Australia and the lands from all around the world where you might be joining us. We pay our respects to them, to elders past, present, and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. And we're welcoming Hong Kong, Japan, WA, Hobart. I'm in Adelaide today, down the road in Melbourne. We'll wait for our New York and our American friends and people from all around the world. We acknowledge you and we acknowledge Indigenous communities from all around the world. So, our agendas for today, we have a new series starting in our coaching cafe for the next 4 weeks. We will be focused on performance reviews because it's about this time of year that organizations are doing their performance reviews, their midterm performance reviews, as I like to say. So we'll be doing a new series that focuses on performance reviews. And this time in our coaching cafe today, we'll be talking about trends in the mid-year performance reviews or the annual performance reviews, looking at the trends, looking at the statistics and what are those statistics telling us about reviews. And also, most importantly, we will be taking a coaching approach to those reviews. For those of you that are new to the Coaching Cafe, we say welcome. We come together every Friday. We say yay to Fridays if you're listening to this live. We're about creating a shared learning experience, having thought provoking conversations. And for those of you that are keen, you can pick up your ICF continuing coach education units, your professional development units at the end of the webinar. To our regulars, we say welcome back. You know, we love to engage with you and have thought provoking conversations with you every week. Feel free to pop your messages and your comments and your thought provoking ideas into the chat and we will pick up your comments and your questions as we go along. Well, let's get into it, Paula. I know this is one of your favorite topics. You and I will do our best not to go on rants, okay? We won't just get on our soapboxes and rant away about our opinions on this. We'll look at the stats, the data, we'll look at the trends, and then we will look at the coaching approach. But I know this is a topic you're very passionate about.
Yes, and I will try very hard.
All right, let's have a look at the trends in performance conversations. So there's a lot of data out there first, and you know we like to back up everything we do with the data and with the research. There's a lot of data. We go to Gallup, we go to Forbes, we go to HBR, we go to all sorts of Gartner research I've looked at recently as well. Can I just let you know, everybody, you need to be careful in this area because with AI generation at the moment, there is a lot of cross-referencing to data and to research reports, and they're quite old, as in a lot of the links that I followed were going back to 2019. So I want to make sure that when we talk about the data, we are talking about the latest data, as in what's happened in 2025 or what's happening now in 2026 as well. So what we can tell you though, from having done that research for you, 1 in 5 employees report that their performance reviews are transparent, fair, or inspire better performance. So only 1 in 5 employees actually think, only 20% of people actually think that their performance reviews are transparent, fair, or inspire better performance. A very low number when you think about it. Only actually 47% of people, of employees strongly agree that they know what's expected of them at work. So they know what's expected of them at work, but they don't feel that their performance reviews are transparent, fair, or inspire better performance. 22% of employees strongly agree that their performance review process is fair and transparent, so a smaller percentage. And 56% of employees formally review their performance goals with their manager once a year, at least once a year. So what the numbers are telling us at the moment is that most employees think that their performance reviews are not fair or transparent, even though they do know what's required of them. And about 56%, so about half of the organizations are doing annual reviews. There's been a big shift away from annual reviews. And Paula, this has been something we've been talking about for quite some time. So I'm assuming that these statistics about, performance reviews aren't really working for a lot of people. This wouldn't be new to you at all.
No, not new. I think too, 47% of employees agreeing that they know what is expected of them worries me a little bit. That if only half of the people are walking around knowing what they're supposed to be doing or feeling like they know what they're supposed to do, that tells me there's a lot of people who are not feeling that way.
Yes.
Um, and 20% of people, I mean, it's a damning statistic, really. If 1 in 5 people feel like their performance reviews are transparent or fair, and to me that also sounds like if they don't think they're fair or transparent, it's a question of what value are these performance reviews bringing at this point in time. Um, and if they don't think these are fair and reasonable, I would suspect that there's a lot of trust issues going on in organizations as well.
Yes, actually, these trends actually really, and people, Veronica said it's scary statistics. Yeah. Veronica, with your experience in careers and your HR experience, yeah, they are scary statistics. I agree with you. And I agree with you, Paula, that, only half of people really know what's expected of them. Of those people, 1 in 5 don't feel like their performance reviews are inspiring at all. They don't think that the performance reviews are fair or transparent, but yet still over half of our organisations are still insisting on the process. And Sebastian's actually just pointed out, good point about using AI for research. We have to be really careful around this as well. Thank you. So let's have a look in the trends in performance reviews. Now, I have also put here a lot of the links that I'm using, HBR, Forbes, Psychology Today. I'm trying to look for the latest, and I'm trying to look for the latest information to bring this to you as well. So the trends in what we're seeing in performance reviews is a lot of major companies, I said they've dumped, like a lot of major companies have dumped their annual reviews. They have moved away from the process. Leading organizations are moving away from rigid annual review cycles. So we are talking Microsoft, we're talking Apple, we're talking Citibank. A lot of the really large companies have moved away. And the reason for that is because they say they just don't work. They take up a lot of time. They're not inspiring and motivating. They're focused on the past and because our workplaces are moving so quickly, things are changing so quickly in our workplace. You could review my performance from back in February, but everything has changed since then if we're now in June. So there's a lot of worry and concern that the annual cycles or even the midterm cycles are really not serving the purpose that they need. Also, the other thing that is across the research is that as soon as you say performance reviews, everyone goes a collective, oh, all right, pull out the forms and let's have a look at it. There's a collective sigh and moan that now we've got to spend all our time doing these things, filling out forms. For these reasons, companies are saying they're not working, they're not serving out their purpose they need to, and there's a big shift away from them. Paula, I noticed your face when I said performance reviews and the that
Yeah, yeah.
that annual cycle of having to do the cut and paste and the ticker box.
Yes, as someone who has had to assist in rollouts of performance reviews, that is literally the look I get on, I would used to get on people's faces. And I think there's a key point in there that you said too. We already have leaders who have massive roles, who are doing know lots of work. There, we know that there's burnout in this particular group as well. And then we say, and here's another process that you have to add on coming into the end of financial year, where there will also be significant projects around budgets and all of those sorts of things. So we're adding in extra work that they don't actually need at that particular point in time. So when you say it's time for performance reviews, that is the collective groan that actually happens. And we try to make everything as simple and easy as we can, but it's also a standardized system. So as much as you can, it doesn't allow for differences in people and roles and those sorts of things often as well. So it does feel like a burden rather than something that people go, this is great, let's have a chat about your year, I'm really excited. It doesn't feel like that in lots of organizations.
Yeah, and it really should be a celebration, shouldn't it? And it really should be those wonderful conversations. But more and more, it feels like something we have to do on top of everything else. And I think that then links to the really strong trend we're seeing, which we have been advocating for a long time now. This is not new. That there should be a movement towards regular, ongoing conversations, regular, ongoing coaching conversations, more frequent, meaningful check-ins that drive clarity, feedback, and growth. Now, there is a movement towards this. A lot of the research says that this is what organizations are actually doing. For anyone that is interested, we did a coaching cafe with Dr. Ricky Smith, who is the CEO of ACNA, and you can pick up that really inspirational conversation. She mentioned in that webinar that she's moved away. They have moved away from these annual reviews, and they have moved to the regular ongoing conversation. So that's a more recent example that we have. But there's lots of articles now talking about major companies that have moved towards this, Deloitte's, all sorts of companies. So we've been advocating this for many, many years, and it's good to see that there's. And what I'm noticing in amongst the research and the data and the companies we're working with, there's one thing to say we think we need to do this. There's another thing to actually implement it. So, Paula, I think that's the movement and the trend we're seeing away from we know we need to do this, and now we're actually implementing.
Yeah, and I think if you think about how we receive our information these days as well, the point about if you're looking 12 months and behind, you probably moved your jobs changed between when you started and when you finished. And our young people coming through, they don't want to wait 12 months to get any information. They want their information coming through now. So when we look at feedback and the like, there's no point in holding on to that feedback. You need to be giving it, and people need to know, what do you need me to do in the next month versus what do you need me to do over the next 12 months. I know that you need to take a long-term view of some things, but more importantly, people need to know, what are my priorities for the next week, for the next month? What does that look like? And it is a shift. I mean, it's a paradigm shift, really, to go from, we're going to move from this system that we've worked with for a long time, and now we're going to become more agile and work differently. So it is a shift, but I think the benefits of thinking about it in that different way will far outweigh the pain it feels to go through that shift.
Yes, it creates the ability to be agile, it creates the ability to respond to change, but I also think from a coaching point of view, it breaks things down. So I've myself have always worked on a 90-day plan. Yes, we've laid out strategically what we want to achieve in the following year. So what are we going to achieve? How are we going to look back on our year and go, we've done great, we've made a difference. But I've always personally always worked on 90-day plans, and those plans are broken down into 3-week blocks, and then reviewing where you're at in a 3-week block or a 4-week block. I find the 3-week block is great because then you can adjust it for the next 3 blocks, and it's like the rule of three. But that kind of planning, and I remember a couple of years ago now, we had a webinar which is still our most highly ranked coaching cafe, and it was the boss put themselves on a performance plan, and I remember talking about these regular plans and the regular reviews that I do for myself, and then implementing that into the broader system. And I think it's what we've always talked about. It's what we need in terms of being able to adapt, being able to be meaningful, as you say, Paula, being able to give that feedback, uh, make changes, keep up, break things down to achievable chunks, all of those kind of things, which we do through our coaching. The other interesting trend, which is pretty obvious when you think about it, but when I actually read some of the papers, it's kind of a bit shocking to me. So I'll be interested in your opinion on this, Paula. It's kind of obvious and for me at the same time shocking, and that is the use of AI to provide inputs to the review. So organizations are using AI, they're using their AI agents to bring data, insights, and patterns to inform reviews. So they're drawing all the data from different systems into the one system. And an example which is publicly available is Citibank. And they're using the data that they collect from their AI agents to create the actual drafts of the performance reviews. And there's a lot of talk now about using AI to draft performance reviews. Some of the commentary is that, oh, it makes us more articulate in performance reviews, and I get AI to check it that I'm not going to get myself into trouble. And the pulling of all the AI data into one spot that then informs quite critically the performance is very, very alive. Um, Paula, I appreciate that this is happening, but I'm a little bit nervous about it. And I think what it is, it goes back to old school templates for things you say about people, and then school reports, where AI is producing the draft. I know it cuts down the work time. I know that managers will carefully check what's written. There's something about it that doesn't feel right to me. What do you think?
I think it comes down to what is it you're measuring. So if it's
Yeah.
things like, I mean, there are some roles where, pulling data that tells you how many clients they met with, or what the outcomes of their sales were, or how many phone calls they took in the 12-month period. I mean, those sorts of things from a data perspective, okay, no worries. Um, I think that that's probably a good way of being able to pull out that information. I think if what you're doing is if it's commentary, it reminds me a little bit about like school reports where they just pick the line from the number of statements that you can use, and it feels really impersonal. So I think if you're using it as an initial draft and then personalizing it, then that's no problem. If you're using it as a draft and then that's the end of the story, then you're missing the opportunity to add the human into the conversation with that person. And I
Yes.
think we're more than just our statistics. There's lots of things that a person can bring from a community perspective to an organization, from a leadership perspective you couldn't use AI to pull data on that. You have to have actual interactions and be able to recall those. So I think if it's statistical, not I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But we really want the human in there, who's able to bring themselves and comment on it in that performance review.
Yeah, I think that's probably my look. I know this is happening and it has to happen, and it's a good thing around exactly what you said in terms of bringing the information together. So we've got a really full view of performance. I think I agree with you, Paula. It is about the human element and the human checking, and that we're bringing in values and we're bringing in all sorts of other metrics and real human elements that reflect our review as well. Because otherwise, we go back to the days of, the financial crisis, where it was all about the numbers and the stats, etc., and that drove performance, and it drove how people were remunerated, and it drove us into a financial crisis. So I don't know, there's something going on here. I might have to talk about it more. I totally agree with the use of AI. There's something that we really need to check. I suppose it's like with everything we talk about with AI, bringing the human element and it's the human critical thinking and the human decision making and the human, yeah, bringing the human to it. So I'm just repeating myself, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's how did the actual human interact with other humans in the organization? I don't think AI can assess that at this point.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah. All right, but we need to know it's definitely happening. So, from a coaching point of view, from ourselves being informed as leaders, we need to know that this is happening. So, I have been saying this all year, and this is based on my reflections that I did when I was thinking about interviews I did quite a few years ago with Sir John Whitmore. And when I interviewed Sir John Whitmore many years ago, he said, "Never has there been a better time for coaching." And and I really think right now, back then when I interviewed him, it was the time of increased terrorism and a lot of change and a lot of disruption in our world, and there's a lot of change and disruption in our world today. And so I think again, never has there been a better time for coaching in this particular space as well. The listening skills, the powerful questions, our ability to reflect, our ability to turn learning into meaningful insights from a coaching point of view, to focus in performance reviews on what really matters and clarify what matters and drill that down. Growth is about continuous support and development of people throughout the process, throughout the year, not just a once off. Coaching enables trust, building the rapport, creating safety around our conversations, and of course, the empowerment which organizations are looking for, enabling ownership and confidence. So, the listening to really understand what's happening with people, the powerful questions to unlock insights, reflections that come during this period about that actually encourage self-awareness and perspective are so important. And then, as I mentioned, the insights where we can turn learning into insights, into action and give clarity. All of these attributes and all of these benefits that we receive from coaching, never has there been a better time for it, really, in our organizations. And never has there been a better time, as we've been saying for many years, to bring these attributes into performance conversations and regular performance reviews. Paula, let me go to the coaching approach in the time that we've got available. And this is a reflective review and framework that we have. Would you like to share the PROUD Challenges Improvement and Plan with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons I love this tool in particular is it does start with the proud. So it starts the conversation off around what's going well, what have you achieved, what are you particularly proud of, how did you play to your strengths, what would you like to celebrate? And it really sets the scene that we're focusing on what actually has gone really well. Because often people, in general conversations, they start with all the what's not going well. Let's flip that and go, let's talk about what is going well. And then we step into the challenges. So, where have you experienced challenges? What's been the impact of the challenges? How did you overcome them? What is still outstanding and what strengths can you call on? And this is one of those areas where I do really love that we bring in the insight for the person to think about for themselves, what does that mean for them, and what learnings did they take from this, and what will they carry forward, and what will they what worked and what will you keep doing, what didn't work and what will you stop doing, so that you can get different outcomes moving forward. So really bringing through that learning, that person bringing in their own insights and to help them move forward. And then we head into the improvement section, which is what can you focus on for improvement? What would you like to change or do differently? And what would be the benefit of those changes? It links it into that insight for that person around what if we're forward looking, which is exactly what we want to be doing. How do I want to go forward with this? What would I change if I could to get a different outcome? What will I need to focus on for the next period of time to achieve the success that I want to achieve? And then the plan, which is what steps can you take to move forward? What is the plan for the next period? So 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. What resources do you need? And how can you leverage your strengths? And how can I support you? And I was reminded recently around having that big picture strategic view, but then determining what does success look like if you're doing that. And I think really thinking about what success looks like links allows you to link into the what will I do moving forward, as opposed to and so you can have that 12-month idea around what that strategy will look like, but the success comes from knowing what the next steps are and being able to put that into a plan. So the coaching approach to this allows us to look back at what we're really proud of, identify where some of those challenges were, and then think about, based on those challenges, what's the improvement that we want to make and what's the plan that we want to take forward.
Thanks for sharing it, Paula. And it really is a reflective review framework. So it not only allows us, as you say, to look back on the last period, and for me, it's the last 3 weeks or the last 90 days, but also it's planning for the next 90 days or the next 3 weeks. And it's so practical and so easy to implement, even if we just ask ourselves one of these questions, not all of them, but what would I like to change or do differently in the next 3 weeks? Or what would I like to change and do differently over the next 90 days so that I can be high performing, so that I can bring out my best, so that I can make a difference in the areas that I want to make? And I just think if we all had this approach, this coaching approach, if we as coaches will do it, but if all managers, leaders could take this approach, I think that we would, call me optimistic, but we would be making a huge difference to conversations in the workplace, and also to overall engagement scores and how people think about their performance and how they approach their performance and how they shift, lift, or raise their performance. So, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I was also just thinking, I like the question in here too, is who do I want to be in
Yes.
the next 3 weeks?
Yeah.
How do I want to show up?
Yeah, how do I want to show up? Yeah. Yeah, it's great to think about. I was having a conversation just with some teams yesterday in our organization and talking about, we are coming into a very busy period, a really hectic kind of period. How do they want to show up? What's the mindset they want to bring? And it was really wonderful to be able to talk about, yes, there's going to be noise and negativity and all sorts of things, but how do we want to show up is a beautiful question as well. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, hopefully that inspires you to think about performance conversations differently. I do sometimes feel like when we're on the Coaching Cafe, we're talking to a community that already knows and understands us. And so, therefore, our call to action is about how can we, as leaders and as coaches, spread the message about a better way of doing performance reviews, and bringing those regular, constructive, uh, conversations into the workplace through our coaching approach. So thank you for joining us. As always, it is also, I'll let you know, end of financial year. So there is some great opportunity. I will unashamedly challenge you and request you and encourage you to think about your professional development and how you might be able to spend that leftover budget with us, either in the certificate for your people or coach leader as coach or the diploma, whatever you're thinking about for your professional development. We unashamedly say, please send it our way. We're happy to look after you in that way. So there you go. I never really do pitches on a coaching cafe, but we might as well. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. As we say, as always, we hope that you really enjoy your coaching and we hope that you continue to join us for these thought-provoking conversations we're having in coaching. We'll say goodbye for now and enjoy your coaching.